going on, Mark?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
All right. Glad to be back doing this, man. It's been a little while.
It has been. It has been. I always really enjoy coming on and talking about it. A lot of stuff's happened too.
For sure. And it's funny, actually, for us. We recorded last Thursday remotely.
Right.
So it feels like we did do it last week, but we didn't have everybody else with us. So it's always
Right.
fun to have the crowd with us today. What's going on, everybody out there? So we've got a bunch of questions that already rolled in. I'm excited to get to that stuff with you. But first, two things I want to bring up. The WWE and TNA did this huge partnership today. Did you hear about this?
I have not.
All right. So WWE and TNA are partnering, and they're basically going to share a roster, it seems, between TNA and NXT, which is pretty cool. I mean, we've seen some crossover already. Hendry, of course, has been, on both sides of the equation there, so to speak, in the past year. But I guess they're going to be able to share, their roster between live events, both pay-per-view and, just regular shows and stuff. So really exciting.
Well, I tell you who it's really exciting for is for all the TNA guys. So, right. I mean, man, I tell them that, hey, it's, when we were WCW, there was nothing positive about merging with the WWF. There was nothing. Right. But because we were trying to beat the WWF, so there was nothing positive about merging. When you're TNA, you got a great company, a lot of great talent. But you're still at the level they are. Merging with the WWE is phenomenal news. You give Marcus Alexander Bagwell my second, third, fourth, fifth year in the business. I'm working for TNA. We merged with WWE, and I'm excited.
Absolutely. I mean, just the exposure that these wrestlers are going to get, being able to, go on two completely different platforms, I think is incredible.
Netflix.
Right.
It's a whole nother galaxy now, man. It's crazy.
So this is going to be just NXT for now, it seems. But
okay,
I mean, I would think that you would have that, that upside to it.
Now,
of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't WWE own NXT?
Yes. But okay. So only WWE Raw is going to be on Netflix as of right now. But right. I've seen a lot of people really pushing because, I was just in Atlanta with you the last couple of days. I just got home yesterday, but what's really cool is I was at the Airbnb and I just hit the Netflix button on the remote there, and the first thing that pops up is Raw.
Monday Night Raw.
So the accessibility to that is huge. So people that don't have cable, that can't see SmackDown, they can't go on and see NXT, they can see Raw. So it would be great if Netflix, took over all the programming of WWE. And sure. I would think that's the way to go, long term.
I believe, but what it made when I saw on Netflix, what it made me think of is before it's over, we're going to see everything on Netflix. Right. Is what it made me think. I mean, really, this is way above my pay grade.
Sure.
But I really think that what is holding them back from taking ABC over, NBC over, CBS? I know there's millions and billions of dollars there, but Netflix is millions and billions. I mean, how do you compete with Amazon? How do you do that?
I don't know. I mean, those are the big players, right? You have your Amazon Prime, and then you also have Netflix. I mean, and there's some other ones out there, but I think those, to me, are the biggest companies. And YouTube's a big one as well, backed by Google, of course. So there's a lot of key players involved here, and I mean, wrestling's in the door with a lot of these companies as it is. So
sure,
it's an exciting time. We know that
it is for wrestling. Period. I mean, here. Back in even in WCW, well, I'll tell you, before WCW called, for example, it was the WWF. I mean, that was really it. You had a bunch of little companies, and there was a WWF, and then WCW. And how I used to explain it is on the golf course. On the golf course, everybody knew the WWF, but nobody knew WCW. So you'd always just say, and I never lied. I would say we work for WCW. And I explain it. Ted Turner, you throw the Ted Turner name. You show you're driving a Mercedes, that you're making money. You have to do all the cheesy stuff to prove that you're not some kind of broke person trying to make a living.
Right.
But it was defending the business is all I've ever done for my whole career. And except that NWO run was the only time I didn't. But it just, on the golf course, they'd be like, oh, you mean like WWF? And I'm like, no, it's like that, but it's WCW. Well, same thing now. You try to say TNA on a golf course, nobody knows what that is. They don't know, so, but they do know the WWE, they do know those three letters. And it's just something they've always came with, and that's power. They're just a powerful company.
Absolutely. And it's too bad because, I mean, TNA's got some great stuff. They've had great stuff. And they've been around for, well, we did a video on this a couple of days ago. They've been around for now, 23 years, going on 23 years. So,
wow.
I mean, for them to still be regarded in that way as like the kind of bootleg, off-brand version of WWE, it's too bad. But I think this will elevate them for sure.
No doubt about it. Ironically, on my television, when I turn it on, you can click on something before you go. I watch YouTube television. I don't watch the channel YouTube. It's called YouTube TV. It's black, and the other one's white for some reason. I don't.
Yeah, it's a different application. Yep,
the different app. So I go to the black, but before I go there, real easy access is TNA. So I love wrestling. I always click on it, and when I do, today it was really and sometimes it'll show, like yesterday it was Scott Steiner in the ring, 2011 with Jane Storm and Bobby Roode and Scott Steiner and somebody else. It was a really good match and just a lot of fun to watch. I like watching that when I turn it on. This one was like January 2nd, 2025. So it just happened somewhere. Looked like they run their stuff out of Center Stage.
Yeah, I think they are now. Yeah. Yep.
It looked like familiar because I've done, I've done years of tapings out of Center Stage. It looked a little bit like Center Stage. They've just got a different setup. But they, it was exciting to watch. It looked like a top show. You had Nemeth come out, and he was always I felt like he was always one of the best guys up there. Him, your LA Knight, those kind of stars always are the guys that, that are always going to have a job, man. They can work. They look good. They can wrestle anybody. They're just stars, And so Nemeth is on there, but he's got his brother coming up, and it was, I thought Nemeth did great, but then the Frankie character with the Elvis glasses and stuff, and his last name I can't ever remember. It's Arkarian or Kazarian.
Yeah,
and he's still in great shape. He looks phenomenal, and it just looked like a product today when I watched. Sometimes it doesn't, but today it looked like a product. And that's what it takes. You gotta look. It's gotta look the part, man.
Yeah. Well, they seem to have gone through some phases where it was really good. I mean, I remember when Kurt Angle was there, Sting was there, Scott Steiner was there. It was great. And then it had a few lean years there, but it's gotten much better. I actually
Bischoff, Flair.
Yeah.
They were all there,
Mick Foley was there. Yeah. They've had some really big names come through there. And I think a lot of people just aren't aware of it because back then it was hard to come by. Now you can actually access it through Prime Video as well, which makes it more accessible. Right. YouTube TV, as you mentioned. So yeah. And Nick Nemeth, I mean, I always thought as Dolph Ziggler, he was just underutilized in WWE. It used to drive me nuts because he looked great. He was great on the microphone. He had a pretty good gimmick as well, but now he's coming into his own with TNA. So I think that's kind of elevating them as well, having somebody that used to be WWE there that, is able to come over and kind of bring that with it. So
that's exactly what I felt today watching it. Like they were a top show. And it's, again, it's some little things. That's my opinion. Just from first looking, it was an A roster and A talent. And everybody believes in Joe Hendry.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. So he's really getting over. He's one of my favorites, and it's just I like how they're doing him. It's just all really it's fun to watch that they're doing well.
Absolutely. Now, one other thing I saw literally just before we got on here, Diamond Dallas Page did a post today on Instagram. 25 years ago was your match with him at Sold Out 2000. It was a last man standing match, and you went over.
What?
You went over. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I made sure to look at it twice. Buff
You
Bagwell won.
I don't believe you right now. So was Kimberly refereeing? Seriously?
I don't remember.
Well,
it. But
hold on.
I remember bits and pieces, but I get it fuzzy with Monday Nitro because you wrestled him on Nitro too.
You would not forget if Kimberly Page was refereeing.
Let's see.
It was a girl refereeing there, but yeah, I think I lost that one. So yeah, if I won, maybe she wasn't in it.
Let's see. Last man standing match, and this was sold out 2000.
Gold tights.
Yes.
Did I pull a thing out of the boot?
See, it's not, and I looked for it on YouTube, but of course WWE doesn't show much from WCW on YouTube, so I couldn't find it. But I remember it was the gold. Let's see, gold tights. You're on the cover for the entire pay-per-view, and let's double check it right now. Where are you on here? Buff Bagwell defeated Diamond Dallas Page in 11 minutes and 19 seconds.
That's a rarity, brother. He called me. He called me and was Stacey having minor surgery. I didn't think about it, but I need to call him back. He called me yesterday out of the blue, and I forgot to call him back. So I'll call him.
You called him 2 days ago, so he's probably returning your call.
And then that's what it was then. Yeah. But he maybe he was telling me about this post or wanted to remind me of that or something. So he posted it.
He posted it. Yeah, it was like maybe a half hour ago. So
25 years to the day.
25 years to the day. So it
wow.
was January 16th, 2000. Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. So let's dive into some questions. Let's see what we got here. All right. So we've got Walker 1984 with a question at 4:29 p.m. today. So he got to us early. So let's do his. I know you didn't wrestle too many matches in WWF, but what was the difference between wrestling in a WCW ring and wrestling in a WWF ring?
Everything. Even though I only had a couple of TV matches at the WWF at the time, I went to school. For a week. At first, we thought they were crazy making us go to school because we're like, it's just 2 feet bigger. But the technicality of it all, and we just did a little clip on this too. We did a story on this, but it was the measurements of it is 20 foot in the WWF. The WWE is 20 feet. The floor is a little different, but I'm not 100% sure of the flooring. I know WCW's was iron, plywood, a pad about an inch and a half, 2 inches thick, a pad, and then canvas. And anybody that thinks it's a trampoline, you are wrong. You'll take a slam and go, I'm never coming back. It's crazy. But that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is the ropes are much different too. So the rope in the WWF, WWE is a rope. It's actually a rope. And it's just, it's hard to get a rope really, really tight. It's hard to do it. So they're a little looser, a little flimsier. And then with the WCW ring, 18 feet, and it's cables. So a steel cable as tight as you can get it with a garden hose around it, and then pretty either black, white, yellow tape, whatever WCW was doing, tape. So you got cable, steel cable, garden hose, and tape. And the difference is daylight and dark when you're 250 plus running in and hitting a steel cable, and the steel cable going right here in your back. I mean, it's really, and I had a big back for a 250-pound guy. My back
absolutely.
Was
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, really did. My brother was a big back guy, but a lot of guys have genetic things. They have mine. I was really decent with the chest back area, but my back was really thick. And so I had a hard time with it. It just, man, hitting those ropes and making yourself throw yourself into those ropes. So everybody thinks that it's Oh, it looks like rubber bands that you're springing from. It looks so fun. It was the hardest thing for my body to get used to, was hitting those ropes. But the ropes are different. The the ring is 2 feet smaller everywhere you go. So the way you line up your match and everything, now that's where I don't have a lot of knowledge, but I would have got better at it, is, when you take a bump somewhere, you got to pay attention, because now you got, 18 feet to go to get to the next maneuver. And so it plays a huge part in everything, just, when you land in a WCW ring, no matter where you land, you're almost in the middle. So
Right.
a little wiggle and you're in the middle. And if you land in a place in the WWF ring, you're 2 feet from the middle. So that's a long ways when television's running. So I really believe again, I didn't wrestle enough in a ring to know the flooring, but with it being 20 feet and the ropes versus the cables, I mean, you'd have guys come back from the WWF at the time and like do a leapfrog and like land right in front of you, because they jumped, way too late or too early. And it was very hard to do. So you always got in the ring and messed around a little bit to make sure you were getting used to it. It was a big, big difference.
Gotcha. And from Kay Wallace here, is it true every event at Sturgis was free and WCW lost all the money? And did you hang out with any bikers? So first part of that, was Sturgis always free for the pay-per-views that you did out there? Attendance anyway.
I don't really know. I didn't really hear much about that. I know that I think we had some seats and then all the bikes just pulled up, right?
Right.
But I never really paid attention to how the bikes got in. That was a really, really tough show for us, because here we are running a major production on dirt. I mean, Sturgis, anybody out there that doesn't know this, Sturgis is a dump. Everybody thinks, man, I was in Sturgis. I'm well, man, you went to a dirt bowl. I mean, it just really is a rough place. I mean, Sturgis is just Sturgis. It's just a little place with a million bikes. It's just more one of those things you say, I got a t-shirt, I went to Sturgis. Everybody stays in Rapid City. You can't even stay there. There's no hotels or anything down there. So you drink and then get on your motorcycle and drive all the way to Rapid City.
Wow.
It was very dangerous for everybody. And I mean, a cop could just sit there and get a DUI every time he pulled anybody over. It was just crazy. But yeah, as far as going and partying in Sturgis for the day, best time of your life. There was bikes lined up and down the road. There was one little lane going north and south for the bikes. It was just really, really, really cool. But as far as them paying or not paying to get in, I don't know. I don't know that truth to that, but I would guess it sounds like it was, probably free to get in, but how do you charge per bike and all that? So it may have just been for fun.
Well, let me add to this question. What's it like calling a match in the ring? Because you've got, and just as an audience member through a TV, all you're hearing in the background is the revving of the engine on these massive motorcycles. Can you even hear the other wrestler in the actual ring to call a match?
That's a good point. One of my Sturgis matches was after I had a real fight with Ernest the Cat Miller.
Right. So we did a video on that. Yep.
Here I got in a real altercation with Ernest Miller, and literally we're the very first match of the show. So we had to go from an altercation where I struck him, an altercation where he got hit and I got tackled. And from that to my elbows were bleeding from the gravel. Somehow his story is I'm on my back, but both my elbows are bleeding somehow. I don't know how, but my elbows are bleeding from going to my back. And so anyway, they break it up, and literally 20 minutes from breaking us up, we've got to go wrestle a match. So it was just a lot going on. And I remember having to call a lot of things in the ring because we didn't have time to go over it. And it was really difficult because of the bikes, but we just were screaming them a little louder, but we had to be careful with the cameras and stuff. But yes, it was much, much harder to call the spots. But as far as hanging out, like I said, hanging out in Sturgis, man, It was a blast. Scott Steiner one time, he could do a really good burnout on his Harley. So he goes to the cops. At every intersection, it was like a big open, like a big circle. And then there was bikes again, as far as you could see. And at every intersection, it was like that. So what he did is there was a cop that stood in the center. So I was with him. He goes, I didn't know what he was doing. He goes up to the cop and he whispers to him, hey, just kind of act like you're trying to get me. And then I'll squill off, He goes, okay, so here's Scott Steiner, 280, shredded. And he's on his Harley. He starts doing a burnout, and the cop starts chasing him in a circle. And it looks like the cop's really trying to get him. And he's chasing, and Scotty wheels off, and the crowd goes crazy. Like, yeah, they loved it. Seeing Scotty do that, and everybody knew it was Scotty as big as he was. It was really cool.
Wow. That's an incredible one. So Jackson White here. We've got this one, $4.99 super chat. Love you, brother. It's almost baseball season.
Good friend of mine, Jackson White. Him and his father were huge Buff Bagwell fans. And I stay in touch with Jackson almost every day. Real sweet guy, great family. He came down this past year and we went to the Braves game, and it was his church. It was his church that invited us to go, and just really great time. He's a great guy, and him and his father were big Nitro fans, so it was a lot of fun to hang out with him. Jackson's a good guy. What's up, Jackson?
Love it. Yeah, Jackson's a familiar face in here. He's in here most Thursday nights with us. I love that. Appreciate it, Jackson.
Yes.
From Alex here. Buff, I love when you and Stone Cold talk. Are you guys close? It seems like you guys just flow when you talk. It does seem like that. I've seen you guys interact several times, and you guys have that you just pick up where you left off, it seems.
Well, Steve, unlike a lot of WWF guys, likes Mark Bagwell. He genuinely liked Mark Bagwell. I'm sure he got caught up in trying to hate me or wanting to hate me, but he can't help but remember we were, in WCW together. We missed each other in Dallas barely with the global thing. And then we were really tight at WCW, really good friends. And like I said, him dumping that ice water on my head every single day for at least a year, every day. I never sold it. I never got mad. And I think it made him like me. And I remember he was the first one. He always said that, he goes, and Bagwell's got some of the craziest stories. He goes, and the way he talks. But Steve's actually a Buff Bagwell fan. And I love that because I love Stunning Steve Austin. I love Stone Cold. I love the Hollywood Blondes. Everything he did, I loved. And let me tell you something what nobody really believes, I'm going to say. Steve was a body guy, believe it or not. He was, it had to be 2015 sometime. Do you have any idea what year it was I did my podcast with him when he called me to do his?
I think it was 2015. I think you're right about that. Let me look it up, but I'm
one of
the
first questions he asked me was, how did I have my abs look the way they did? In 2015. He never asked me that in person. He was a body guy. He just whatever reason he didn't quite do the cardio right, or whatever it was diet-wise, he didn't quite. If he'd asked me, I would have helped him and I'd have showed him. Stone Cold and Steve Austin had a phenomenal body, great wheels, but he never had ripped abs. But he really did. He really was a body guy, and nobody knows that. But I'm telling you, he was all about amazed about how I had abs all those years. He goes, how did you do that? And when I told him, I don't think he believed me. He really thought, he's one of those guys, which there's a lot out there. They believe that, man, I bet you did 1,000 crunches. I have never done a crunch a day in my life.
Wow.
What men don't know, and been trying to tell them for years, but they don't understand. those abs, the abs you used to see Buff Bagwell with, they're under what you're looking at. You just got to get down to them, brother. Those ain't from abs and crunches that everybody thinks. It's all right here. And I know you don't want to hear that, but that's the fact. So until you learn how much carbs and how little carbs and when to eat the carbs and when to do the cardio, until you figure that out, you're never going to see even your upper ab guys come in. Oh, my uppers are coming in. Well, good luck. The lowers are never coming in. So I'm telling you guys, stick to that diet. But yeah, Steve, great guy. Love him. Big fan of his the whole way. One of the best workers. One of my biggest matches that got me on the board even more at WCW was I went 10 minutes to a draw with him for the TV title. And that put me at a whole nother level. So really, really great guy. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I think everybody loves Stone Cold. He's one of those guys, kind of like The Rock, but he's got an edgier, obviously, persona and public image. But he's one of those guys that I think everybody loves.
Yeah, I mean, like you would have never guessed that he was a body guy. He never talks about it.
Right,
huge body guy. He just never talked about it.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those guys, I feel like anyways, where, it's hard to see where the gimmick is and where real life is, because for the last,
it's real close.
Right. For the last 25 years, he's pretty much lived that Stone Cold gimmick, All right. We've got CJ here. I think the best woman wrestler today is Bayley. What is your opinion on Bayley?
Every time I see this chick, I think I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't. But I see that she's always got the belt and she's always the one that's winning. Maybe she's really great in the ring. To me, I don't care to watch her. She don't excite me. I like is my favorite is the Tiff Time girl.
The who?
Tiffany.
Yep. Tiffany Stratton. Yep. Very
Tiffy
good.
Time.
Yep.
Tiffy Time. I like the girl that does her hair twisted.
Yep. Bianca Belair.
Bianca. I like Bianca. I like the Tiffany girl is, I think, one of the best wrestlers, man. I really do. I mean, I say best, like, she can work, but she can also work. Like, she can sell. And now, again, the guys, I believe, CJ, I believe you're right. I believe she is one of the best women wrestlers. But I just don't think she's a bigger draw or TV star than Tiffy is, or these other ones. They're just technique wise and all that. I think she's phenomenal. But I like I like Tiffany a lot, the way she does her thing, and she'll do the ropes 1, 2, and then boom, right into the back flip. So just and all of them are super. But I seem to like the Tiffy Time the best.
I think that WWE right now, their women's division is just on fire. There's so much talent in there. I personally also share that with Bayley. I think she's good, but I never personally gravitated towards her. Rhea Ripley, to me, is one of the best. I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, and now that I say it, Rhea, the girl I said, Tiff, but also Rhea, and then Liv Morgan, too. Those three, to me, are who I like to watch perform. They just always bring something to it, and they're tough, they're pretty, but they're also athletic. I just think they got the whole package.
Absolutely. Now, I just saw this from Mike here. Marcus Alexander Bagwell versus Buff Bagwell. I like this, and I don't think this is a question, but I'm going to make it a question. If we're living in an alternate universe here where these two characters, versions of you, could wrestle, who comes out on top?
Wow, that's a great question. And ironically, there's a company called, I think it's Top Rope Collectibles, is making a Marcus Alexander Bagwell action figure. And one of my coolest tights ever, if you call, like, if Buff's coolest tights ever were the brick pants, then I think the coolest Marcus Alexander Bagwell ones were, I had white pants with yellow and black, gold and black stripes of sequins down the side, white boots with gold and black shoestrings. I wore that outfit on the Clash of Champions with Brian Pillman, and I wore that outfit a good bit. But again, tights wear out fast, and especially the white ones. But man, I remember just having those on. I was huge, but I was a rookie, and I hadn't learned how to get abs yet either. But I was a big boy with my upper abs coming in. And but those white tights, they look so great. They're just so hard to keep up with. But you got your ultimate baby face against your ultimate heel. I mean, right. I really believe, just experience wise, that Buff would beat Marcus Alexander Bagwell.
It's good insight. Yeah. It's interesting because obviously it's the same person wrestling, but you were a very different wrestler from Marcus Alexander Bagwell to Buff Bagwell. Yeah. Different moves were used. I mean, very different styles almost.
Yes.
So I like that. I like that question.
I love that question.
We collaborated on that, Mike. I appreciate you giving me the idea there.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see. I saw this one actually. So Mark, the Boogeyman interview was the video we put out right before this today. So I saw Random J Adventures here post this over there. As a fisherman, I would love to know where Boogeyman got his night crawlers from.
Really? Did you hear how much protein is in that?
80% protein, right?
No, 80 grams.
Oh, 80 grams. I thought they were 80%.
You may be right. Now that you say that.
Sure. Well, I guess you could get 80 grams out of it.
80. Well, now that I think about it, there's no way it could be 80 grams of protein, but 80% protein is what he probably said. So yes,
I think that's what it was.
Still, that's huge. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's at least what he told himself, I'm thinking, so he could at least chew them up and eat them, But
right.
Our story that we had went back to a Mexico shot where they brought these nasty, horrible worms in for him to eat. And I was like, brother, I wouldn't eat those, man. I said, don't eat those, man.
So who booked that show? You guys were working for like the cartels or something down there for that?
Man, I really don't know. I can tell you that I don't know how we made it out alive, but for me not to remember who booked me.
Yeah.
When you see movies of people trying to get over the border and there's Mexico here, there's USA here, and you're walking across and all the kind of different scenarios you've seen in movies.
Yeah.
That's where me and Boogeyman were.
Wow.
We were in that scenario.
Sure.
Of right here's Mexico and right there's freedom, but we couldn't get there. And it was just crazy. So,
well, this was like an abandoned building that they like took over. They ran power into it from like external sources. It was
like what do you call those? The generators were running.
Generators, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had that match. It was, just crazy. Everybody, you couldn't even see the people. They were like way off, but
there was very little lights. Yeah, it made for a shoddy video because I put little bits and pieces in the interview just so people could see what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
And it looked like a video this wasn't all that long ago. I would say it was 9-10 years ago, something like that. But it looks like just how the footage is, because there's no light sources there. It looks like a video, from the mid 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. So crazy. Have you worked in environments like that before? Situations where you don't know if you're going to get out of there alive?
That was 100% the scariest. So no, we never did. There was, in the States, there was some shady places, but nothing quite like that of being, questioning, are we going to make it back or not,
Right. Yeah, I would imagine that's something that people come across a lot. I remember being in Sofia, Bulgaria. This was probably 10, 15 years ago. And you know how you go to like a nice restaurant or a venue and there's a coat check? I remember going into a restaurant in the hotel and there was a gun check, and it was labeled in Bulgarian and English, and it said gun check. And sure enough, guy goes up, takes off his overcoat, 2 guns out, hands it over, and goes and gets a seat in the restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
This is 15 years ago.
About 50. Yeah, I would say probably 15 years ago. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So it's different. Different countries are very different sometimes.
Wow.
All right, we got Rhodes Cleanex. Loving the channel, seeing one of my favorite, happy and healthy, warms my heart. I always thought the NWOB theme song was underrated, and it took a life of its own with Vicious and Delicious.
First of all, thanks so much for loving the channel and everything. Thank you so much. We're having so much fun doing it. We got a lot of stuff coming at you guys, man. We got so much new material that we've got coming. Can we talk about some of it, Chase?
Yeah, absolutely. Give them a sneak peek.
We're going to have full workout videos of me training and me showing me explaining how to train and showing form and just showing what I go through on a daily basis to train. We got a lot of cool stuff like that coming out, but the B team, let's see, I always thought the B music, I can't lie to you, I was devastated by it. So if it wasn't, it just had a little, I don't know, like nobody cared, little swing to it. So it did bother me. Now that I'm saying it out loud, all I probably had to do was go to Hulk or Eric and say, "Hey man, can we play the main music for me, please?" Right. Or for us, whatever it was. But it was like they would do it sometimes, and then sometimes if I was just by myself, it'd be the B team music, So, I was just like, oh man. So I didn't like the B song at all. But thank you for liking it.
Hey, the worst that NWO gets is still good. So, and from Rhodes Cleanex too, he has a second part to his question. I think it's a good one, so we'll go with it here. Were you and Scott ever close to reuniting the team after the WCW run? So I don't know if this is Scott Norton or Scott Steiner, but I mean, you did kind of reunite with both of them after WCW, right, on the Indies.
Yes. Well, right after was the WWA. We all went to Australia, and man, this was keep in mind, there's no TNA. ECW is gone. There's WCW is gone. Everything's gone except the brand new WWE. And so the WWF is gone. To your average wrestling fan, the WWF, WCW, ECW, and there's no TNA yet. It's over, but it really helps, I think, UFC. Ultimate Fighting comes aboard, and they start drawing because there's this crazy fighting, live fighting on TV. And now, where's my WCW go? Where's the WWF? I think confusion led a lot of viewers to go that way. During that little bit of troubled time, WWA happened, and it was going to be the next biggest thing, man. It was going to be huge. And it was World Wrestling All-Stars in Australia. And it just fizzled out as well. A guy named Andrew McManus was the brains behind everything. And I do think that Jeff and Andrew came up with something for TNA out of that, and that's where TNA stinted from. But it just didn't have a long life. But you're talking about a roster. Everybody Vince didn't have was in the WWA, from Sid to Sting to Lex to me to Billy. I mean, you got Billy Guns. You got the Armstrong Boy, Road Dogg. Just Jeff Jarrett. I mean, name somebody, and they were at the WWA with us.
Right. And great roster.
Unbelievable roster. So,
yeah.
But over there, a little bit we would tag or something, but not a whole lot really. Neither Scott. Right. By the time I was back healthy from breaking my neck, that's when me and Norton should have regrouped. But he was in Japan for a whole month, and Scott Steiner was there, and they put me with him just for the night, and it worked. It worked good.
Right. We got this one here, which I've actually been seeing in the comments quite a bit. Everyone wants to see Mr. Bagwell resurrected here.
Really?
Yeah. Seeing a lot of that. So might have to do something with that someday.
You know, do you know the real reason why I'm having a hard time with it?
Is it the mustache?
Yes.
There you go.
Because see, Buff used to wear my mustache. Buff wore his mustache right down to the skin. And just very lightly. And that way I could dye it. I could dye the beard. So shaving my goatee was nothing. But that's what made the magic trick really good was you got goatee, slick down hair, you know, to Buff Bagwell to clean shave, hair over to the side, Mr. Bagwell. So it was it was overnight we could do it. And the next day I could be Buff again, you know. In a couple of days I could dye my beard back. But now this is a big deal, man.
Right. You got some length on there now, so you couldn't do that instantly.
No. So, but we'll put some thought in that we do need to bring Mr. Bagwell back somehow.
Right. Well, we'll have to. It might have to be a Mr. Bagwell with facial hair. Then we'll have to figure that out.
We'll figure it out.
Well, there's interest. We know that at least.
Yes, I have 8x10 Mr. Bagwell pictures that I took to shows, and for a little while, I was going to do a thing where I would dress up like me at part of the Comic-Con or WrestleCon, and then dress up like Mr. Bagwell, and it just didn't get enough traction.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like maybe it's your, people that are really into the, the stuff on the internet now that even know who Mr. Bagwell is. I'm sure there's people in the chat right now that have no idea what we're talking about because they know Buff Bagwell, they know Marcus Alexander Bagwell. So it could be one of those things where you don't want to play to, the smaller demographic there too. So it's a tough balance.
It is.
These are good problems to have though.
They are.
People care. So
absolutely.
So we have from Lark Bark here. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Buff, I just want to say I admire your sobriety and recovery. It takes a lot of strength and discipline to do so. God bless you. Love that one.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. So let's see. September, October, November, December, January. So January 26th will be 2 years and 5 months.
Congratulations.
2 years, 5 months. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Even to say that out loud, it just blows my mind. It really
we were just celebrating 2 years not long ago, and it goes to show you how quick the year's going. The last few months have gone by.
It does.
It's 2025.
It really is, and I'm telling you, and I tell almost every meeting I go to, I share that I really got there, and I really believe that it's because of going at it one day at a time. I mean, if you try to sit Mark Bagwell down 2.5 years ago and say, you're going to be here in 2.5 years, I've been like, whoa, what? Back up. It's this, you just take this journey on one day at a time, because one day sober is a lot. 20 years at least consecutive, I was at some level of sedation. And to not be sedated at all for 2 years and 5 months is a big deal. And couldn't be happier.
I see it every day in the comments. We see it every other Thursday when we're on here. People just say how great you look. And you do. You look like a completely different person. You act like a completely different person. Yeah. Your stories are clearer. Everything is just so much better for all of us. I can only imagine how it is for you.
Yeah. Me and Stacy one time, we were trying to find a video that I was sober in, and we couldn't find one. And I don't get depressed about my past at all. I did it. It happened and all that. But I'm telling you, man, it bothers me that I couldn't find one video of me sober. I'm like, what? And even if there was one that started off good, it ended with some blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, man. So it was just so ugly. It got so ugly. I'm just glad to end the ugliness.
Absolutely. Let's see. Let's find another good one here. What do we have? Marcus, 2 questions. 1, at the power plant, were you allowed to experiment with ideas moves wise? And is that where the Buff Blockbuster came about?
Okay, so the first part of it is I did not go to the power plant. So when I came into pro wrestling, there was a building in Griffin, Georgia, just a warehouse that, like the power plant, but it had no name. Jody Hamilton had a ring down there, and Buddy Lee Parker was the trainer, and we just did a thing on this.
Yeah, we did.
And that's where I went. Missy sent me to the warehouse in Griffin when she came up with the idea of me being a wrestler. She sent me down there, and that's where I found out it was $3,000, and they said I wasn't big enough, and I got in kind of an argument with the trainer, Buddy Lee, and I left depressed and upset.
Right.
And I go back to Missy, and she found a guy up here named Steve the Brawler Lawler to train me up here for $1,500. And so it was, I mean, it seems like 10 years, but it was at least three or 4 years after that there even was a power plant.
So this was the early version of what would become that.
Yes. The
Okay.
early version of what would become the power plant in a completely different area. The power plant was right connected to WCW, which is right off South Cobb Drive in Marietta.
Yep.
And Griffin, Georgia was an hour drive, so I think Jody was from down there is why they did that. But yeah, so that I didn't go to the power plant, but yes, at the power plant, they do, of course, let you experiment. That's where you practice everything. That's where you come up with it. That is where I would have came up with the Blockbuster. That's where I would have practiced the Blockbuster. But somehow what happened with that is when I joined the NWO, from the time I joined the NWO, that night I did the Rude Awakening on Scotty Riggs, because I liked Rick Rude's Rude Awakening, the move, but I couldn't do it exactly because that's Rick Rude's move. I want my own move. Somewhere between that and Cedar Rapids, Iowa, sold out, I created in my mind what I wanted to do. I tell Scotty Riggs about it, and we practice it in a hotel room in Cedar Rapids. And I remember going on the beds, and like him being on the floor, and I was on the bed like the second rope, and jumping off the bed and trying to make it work. And we got it good enough to where the next day we were going to practice it. And the next day Scotty came to me and he goes, you want to practice right quick? And I go, I'm good. Are you good? He goes, yeah. So the first Blockbuster I ever did on television, the first Blockbuster I ever did in a wrestling ring, the people saw it. It was NWO sold out, the pay-per-view in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And we've got one here from Brentamania 89. Who was the stiffest wrestler you ever worked with? And we've done a video on this, but if you had to name one, because I think we did 5. If you had to name just one, who would it be?
I mean, it would have to be Goldberg. It had to be it had to be Goldberg.
Sure. Because
he was just, he personally had a hard time with fake wrestling. I mean, we all did. Who wants what you do for a living to be fake? Nobody does. So we would get very upset about it. Well, Goldberg would get very angry about it. I mean, as a matter of fact, when he was in the ring, it wasn't fake. And that's what he would say. He goes, hey, they may be faking, but I ain't faking, And he had such a hard time with that in his head. I really believe that he was always worried about, it looking weak when he made a punch or weak when he hits you. So I don't think he realized at the time that I could throw a fake punch at you And with you selling it and me as a great worker throwing a great working punch, that looks 1,000 times better than if I just knock you out. It looks a million times better if I throw a good working punch and you sell it and go down. It's a million times better. And I don't think he may have learned it as he went, but at first it is easy to think, well, if I just lay it in, it looks better. And it doesn't. If you just put your arm out, if you just run at me with your arm flimsy out and hit me, you're going to look great because I'm going to bump real fast and look great, make you look like $1 million. But if you try to hurt me, then I'm going to be a little bit worried and scared, and it just doesn't look good. And that's what happened a lot of times with Bill, because he was so tough, man, and he's so big, and he was an animal. I mean, he really was a tough guy. But it ain't like he was meaning to hurt anybody. I just think he was just green. He got a really fast track to stardom. And that's why they put him in the ring with NWO guys. But you got, 10 years experience to a guy that's been in the business for 6 months. And he's big and strong and tough. And I think Bill Goldberg did fantastic, but he was stiff because of his greenness and just his background of being football,
Right. No, it makes sense. Well, Bret Hart would agree with you there. And we have a Bret Hart question here. What was it like working with Bret Hart in the NWO?
From the very moment that I heard that he was in the NWO, from the very moment I heard he was in WCW, it just never felt right. I don't know why. I do know why, but it never felt right. I mean, when the Nasty Boys came from the WWF to the WCW, it felt like they came to the WCW, Yeah. When Rick Rude came to the WCW, it felt like Rick came to WCW. When Hulk Hogan came to WCW, it felt like he came to WCW. When Bret Hart came, he didn't come to WCW. He's a WWF guy. He's just a WWF guy. And they tried to pay him what he wanted, and they did. He made millions, and he's great. They try to make him a baby. They try to make him a heel. NWO Wolfpack, NWO Black. I mean, y'all saw the ride. I mean, it was all over the place because they couldn't figure it out. They got millions of dollars into him, millions of dollars for a superstar, well deserved. But I just believe with my heart and soul that it was like it was never going to work.
Right.
Like
I think he's open about not wanting to really, he wasn't happy there. I don't think he really wanted to be there. So, I mean, that's got to play a role in this as well.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Maybe even, I'm guessing some of what I'm explaining here has got to come from him. If he walked in with a WCW hat on and NWO for life, let's do this thing. But it ain't like I saw that. It was really just like he was there to visit.
Yeah.
And he was going to go back. It wasn't like he was on the team,
Right.
And personally, unbelievable, great. I love him. We got along really great. WWA is where we really bonded over there because he was in WWA too. But as far as WCW goes, it was a tough time for him. I think. I really do. I don't think he was happy. I don't think he wanted to be there, and I think it kind of showed.
Right. Well, he was going through a lot at that time, having the Montreal screw job, just happened to him literally right before he got there too. So that's fresh in his mind. His brother passes away tragically, a year or so later. So I can only imagine, what that time period's like for him.
Now, he was with us when his brother died, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because that was, I think, May of '99, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, he would have been with you guys. I think Bischoff had to go tell him, but somehow he had found out on his plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Kemper Arena, I'm pretty sure is where he died.
Yes.
And we had Kemper Arena like within I think the next day.
Really?
And so Sting did not repel that night. We actually remember we hung him upside down and beat Sting up, and then we dropped a bunch of like new blood in the ring. Is I think what we did instead of Sting just wasn't going to repel.
I gotcha. We got another one here. Let's see. Any funny Norman Smiley stories?
I don't have any funny, bad stories on the nicest man I've ever met. Norman Smiley was the nicest guy I have ever met in this business. He was just such a sweetheart, just a really great guy. I do remember that the match I talk about wrestling a girl, he was involved. He was her partner. It was like me and somebody versus Norman Smiley and that bodybuilding girl.
Okay.
The one that's married to the Kiss dress up guy.
Is that Asia?
Yeah, Asia was her name. That's
Asia.
it, Asia. And the Kiss dress up guy's name is God.
I remember him in WCW, but I don't remember his real name.
I can't believe I can't think of it, but super great guy, super sweet guy too, super guy, excellent baseball player. Not Chad Fortune, because that was Eric Watts' partner. Right. I can't remember what his name was, but super
Dale Torborg.
Dale Torborg. Dale was a super athlete, and I think he followed some kind of trainer and does like a sports trainer for like a Major League Baseball team.
Oh, wow.
He's some kind of trainer for Major League Baseball.
Nice. And then Ryan Brown here. My sister said running ropes lasted 2 days. So what happens? What is the process for getting used to running the ropes in terms of, hitting them and coming back? Do you build up like calluses? How does that work?
So the two things for some reason for me was my heels and my back from hitting the ropes, the side of my lat, not my back from landing. My heels were hurting from landing. For some reason, my heels were flopping. I was doing sunset. My trainer was amazed that I could come off the top rope into a sunset flip from the top rope. So when you come off the top rope, your heels go over fast, and they were hitting the mat really fast. And so my heels bruised really bad because they kept going. I've never seen anybody do that on their first day. So I kept doing it like I was getting better and better at it. And then on the mat, I was intrigued with power slams, and I was intrigued with sunset flips. So I would do them over and over and get better and better at them. And so my heels and my back. And to answer your question, there's nothing you do. So I've mentioned before how I think it was a great thing that I knew Missy, but it also was a little bit negative because I put in my head what I just had done at wrestling school, and I could see the WCW schedule. And I was like, and I go talk to her. I go, Missy, how did they do what I'm doing here? How did they do that many times a week, every year, no break? And she goes, they just do, bro. And I went, well, now I understand why the lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year. I can relate to that. But still, $100,000 a year was like $250,000 a year now. So it was a lot of money. And let me tell you something, whoever's listening out there, let me explain something to you. 6 figures is still a lot of money. It's a ton of money. It's a ton, brother. I'm telling you. You still say you make 6 figures in a job, and you thank God tomorrow, because that is a lot of money. So I'm making 6 figures plus at 21 years old. But what I'm saying is money, a job, but nothing gets over it. It don't callous. I came home and wasn't going back. That was my answer. I wasn't going back. What I was feeling in my back couldn't be fixed. What I was feeling in my heels couldn't be fixed. When you had 2-a-day football practices, you were sore and beat up, but you went back.
Right.
I was never going back to where I just went. And I really don't. The only reason I know I did is because I was out of bullets. I mean, I just did this school thing for 10 months to go to massage therapy school. It fizzles out. What are we going to do, man? I did what was directly in front of me that I feel what God does to all of us. I feel like nobody picks their job. They may say they do, but if you really just take a breath and reevaluate it, something happened to make you do what you're doing.
Yeah,
I really believe that. I really believe that. And that's what happened to me is something happened, like Missy Hyatt moving next door to me, seeing me at the pool at the exact time that massage therapy is not working out. And I go to wrestling school and become Buff Bagwell. That sounds like a story you'd make up, but it happened. So yeah, to answer your question, it does not get easier. The answer would be you just get used to it. Like swinging a baseball bat will make you sore, but if you swing it every day for the rest of your life, you never get sore again. So like if I went back and hit the ropes right now, I'd be bruised and hurting and all that, but it would have to get used to it again, and it's tough. It's the toughest. I believe it's one of the toughest things there is to do. I really do.
I believe it. I mean, we see that from everybody. I mean, the breakdown of people's body that did what you guys did. I mean, it's insane.
It's not natural to tell yourself to throw yourself to your back. It's not natural to run and hit a cable. It's not natural to flip over a person onto your back. It's not natural to get to the top rope and just throw yourself in the air. It's not natural. So you gotta think what's going to happen, and you do it because you trust everybody, and then you got to judge for yourself. Do you want to do that again or not?
Right. I guess when you're getting paid to do it, that helps make that decision for you.
Yes.
But wow. From Ryan Brown here. What do we have? A controversial one, Ryan? Was Buff there the day Booker T did his infamous "We Coming For You" Hulk Hogan promo? So this is when he slipped up and dropped the N-word on Turner programming. Were you there that night?
I was not. So when did he do that?
This would have been, so this was Harlem Heat. He's talking about Hulk Hogan, so it's got to be after 94. I mean, Harlem Heat would have been, 94 through, yeah. So I would say probably 94, 95, if I had to guess. I remember Sherry Martell's with Harlem Heat. So, I mean, that can narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, mid-90s. Okay,
so, I really, no, the answer is no, I was not. And did Hulk do it on TV or what did he do?
No. It wasn't Hulk. It was Booker T. He was cutting a promo with his brother and with Sherry, and he just slipped up. He got intense in the moment, and he dropped, the N word.
Face to face, Booker. Face to face. Hulk did that?
No. Hulk didn't do it. Booker did it.
Oh.
Right. I think the controversy is just that it was on TV and it was probably an awkward moment. It wasn't that Booker couldn't say that. Had Hulk said it, it would have been a very different story, especially at that time.
Okay, so but now Hulk did do that years later on Jail or something, right? Talking to his kid on Jail?
it was his leaked sex tape, and he said it at that point, and that's how it got leaked for Hogan.
Okay, but this is just Booker said it.
This is Booker saying it in a WCW promo.
To be honest with you, I don't even know that story. I really don't.
Okay.
It wasn't much news to it if you're in the car with Lex Luger and Sting and you don't know that story.
Right. It could be one of those things that blew up years later with the internet,
Maybe.
Because, back then, in order for you to see it, you would have had to be sitting at your TV watching it at that moment. Right. But that's the internet for you. You take stuff and send it around the world years later, and now you have a question popping up in a live stream.
Absolutely.
Another one from Ryan here. How tough was Dick Slater out of the ring?
I never got a chance to meet Dirty Dick Slater, but man, if just 5% of the stories are correct, he would have been one of the 5 guys. He would have been one of the 5 toughest guys. There was a problem with Sting. Sting was always worried a little bit with Dirty Dick. He had a problem where I think the story is that Dick, because Sting never even told me the full story, because I think it bothered him, but it was obvious that once I got pieces of it and I pieced together what Steve had told me, it was that Dick knocked him out or struck him and knocked him down.
Wow.
And it was over like a girl valet or something. And I'm not sure if it was a fight and Sting got beat up. It wasn't nothing like that. No, I don't think a black eye was even involved. But an altercation happened to where when they saw, the reason I'm telling you this part of the story is because when people saw this is when WCW was like, whoa, Dick's tough, man. He just hit Steve. But he's much older than us. His track record was really a tough guy, but I never saw him like knock anybody out or punch anybody, but I wasn't about to test him for sure.
Right.
I mean, he took the worst bumps I've ever seen in my life in the ring. Me and Scorpio would hit him with a double drop kick and he would do his Dick Slater sell and go forward. I'm like, God, listen, old man, go backwards at least, will you? But he wouldn't, and I didn't say that to him because I didn't want to get knocked out.
Right.
But he had an air about him that was very tough. Not a big guy at all, but he was very tough, and he talked a good game, but he also, backed it up.
Right. And we got one here, which I'm trying not to laugh because I know how you're going to respond to this, but thoughts on the Magnificent Seven in WCW in 2001. I thought it could have been good. You and Luger were a good heel tag team. You guys got good heat.
Okay, so the truth of this story here is I don't remember this. And I want to say that, maybe it was pill related or drinking related, but I was sober for all my TVs always. But I really don't remember when you are in one of your father's favorite movies as a person, and you are in the Magnificent Seven. Don't you think your father's going to call you and go, brother, you're in the Magnificent Seven. That's the coolest thing ever. We got all these superstars, Steve McQueen and all these cool stars. But the truth is, I don't remember it. But there's a picture of me in a sleeveless, like blue type camouflage shirt, opened up with like a beanie of some kind that matches it. I couldn't even tell you where this came from. I think somebody said, wear this out like as a joke. But I was in such good shape that it looked really good on me. So I wore it out and I'm holding some kind of sign up, but I'm just gigantic with abs. And I like the outfit, the way it looks on me, but I would have never guessed me in this outfit. But that was during that time. So maybe I was blacked out during that time. I don't know, but I do not remember Magnificent Seven at all. It couldn't have been long we did this. On paper, is this after New Blood?
It's around that time. I mean, I'll be honest.
How did we do New Blood and Magnificent Seven?
Well, it wasn't during the same time because you were in Magnificent Seven with Flair, right? And Flair was not New Blood, obviously.
Right.
So, it wasn't long lived. I remember that. But you had Animal was there? No, it was Hawk was in there, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think it was. I don't know why I'm asking you. You don't remember it, but I know Hawk was in there. Jarrett was in there. Lex was in there. That's when you buried Bill Goldberg. You remember that? So that's part of Magnificent Seven.
Is that where I supposedly got my heat from?
I think so, because you were with Lex when you buried Bill Goldberg, right? So I'm pretty sure it was in that Magnificent Seven angle, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't even know what I said about Bill on that, but I mean, again, just trying to get heat, and obviously I did.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to do some deep dive into Magnificent Seven and eventually do a video on that, and you'll maybe remember some of it.
Yeah, there's again, I just it's just such a cool sounding name that you think I would know all about that, but I don't know.
Got one from, I believe this is Rodney, if I'm not mistaken, but Chase Marcus. What's up, guys? Marcus, do you remember Louis Spicoli from WCW?
Unfortunately, all I remember about Louis Spicoli was he was a really cool guy. I remember he was kind of a fat guy, and I remember he loved somas, and I think that's how he died. And I hate that, because I should have been dead over those drugs called somas. That should have been on my casket, because we as wrestlers, it's what we did. It was one of the quickest, safest, we thought, drugs there was, until you start taking hundreds of them. And but I think it's what happened to Louis. But I do remember funny, chubby, great worker to be a little heavy. Wasn't he a little heavy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Spicoli. But super, super funny guy. But don't remember him a lot. No, at the end there, just kind of got, but he was there before, but it just seemed like we never would in the same clique. But I do remember him.
So I don't know if Rodney might text me right now and kick me for saying this, but I got off the plane yesterday from, being down with you in Atlanta, and I had a text waiting for me from Rodney, and he tracked down your stolen top hat. He knows who has it, but he can't.
Why didn't he tell me?
I don't know. he was trying to get it. So.
See, but then again, Rodney's done this once before where he didn't come through.
Oh, okay.
The guy, it wasn't the exact stolen hat.
Okay.
It fell through. But
supposedly, this is somebody that bought it off the guy that stole it from you. But I'm actually editing that video, so for the chat here that doesn't know what the hell we're talking about,
yes,
your hat from. This would have been from Totally Buff. This would have been from your Raw debut working with Booker T. That hat was stolen on the Indies years later, and you've never seen it since. So we're trying to locate that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I actually hired a team to find that when it happened, and because internet just had started,
right?
Just was brand new stuff. But I remember hiring we found somebody that could professionally look for it. And buddy, I mean, nothing came of it. Nothing.
Well, I mean, I would think if somebody just snatched it and never posted a picture of it, I mean, this is before now it would be tough, because the first thing everybody does now is take their phone out and take a picture of it, right? So now I feel like it would be easy, but back then I could see how it would be tough.
Yeah,
there's no paper trail, so to speak.
But I still thought somebody would click it, but no.
Right.
I haven't seen one picture of it.
Right. Now here's a good question. You may not want to answer it, but hey, Buff, what's the craziest thing you've seen in WCW backstage?
Oh my God, I do want to answer it.
Okay.
And it's going to be the craziest thing I've ever seen in my not in my life, but it's one of the craziest. So we're in Tampa, Florida, and I mean this is burned into my head. It's one of those, it's like a bad car wreck. You just can't turn away from it. It's no matter what's happening, you can't turn away. But we're in Tampa, Florida, and we're all playing cards or something. And about that time, something leads us. I think Rick said, follow me or something. And Rick Steiner goes into like a half bath kind of at the building. And as I walk up, the visualization I have is he's leaned over and projectile diarrhea is coming out his butt, and it splashes against the wall like you had a garden hose crimped up and let it go. And brown water was shooting into the wall. And it was one of those things that was funny, but nobody was laughing, man. It was like a really bad joke gone bad. Like, I don't think he knew it was going to do this kind of a mess. I thought he thought it was going to be kind of funny, but what ended up happening is it just destroyed this room. And we were like a bunch of girls running away to make sure we didn't get in trouble. And we all, nobody was laughing. It was more, we're smiling, but we're going, oh my God, he's going to get in really bad trouble for that. I mean, it was a mess. It was the biggest mess I've ever seen in my life. And I was just like, oh my God, so we sit down, brother, and we start playing cards, and we're trying to play it off. And all of a sudden, man, there's a meeting called. And buddy, we go out, and I'm in the crosshairs no matter what. So I'm sitting there, and he's looking right at me, but I guess he already kind of heard or something. And so he goes, hey guys, I got a really short meeting right here. He goes, it was the smartest thing I've ever seen a powerful boss do. Because it worked. Because I'm thinking, how's he going to prove that Rick did it? How? What's he going to do?
Right.
Yeah. What's he going to do? So he goes up, just calm as cool as could be.
And this is Bischoff. That's
Bischoff.
Bischoff. Okay.
Calls a meeting, and he goes, "What I just saw is the saddest, craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's a disrespect to the level I can't even explain." And he goes, so I'm going to make this easy. He said, I'm so mad about it. He said, whoever did it, stand up. And if you don't, you're all fired. He said, I will fire everybody. And before he got here out of his mouth, Rick Steiner stood up. And buddy, I'm telling you, it was a hard stand up, brother, because you could tell Eric didn't know who it was.
Right.
But he had the perfect line, because Rick can't go down for everybody.
Right. No.
He's not even going to get fined. He's going to get in trouble. Probably have to clean it up. But he ain't going to get fired over it. We're all getting fired. We're all going to kill Rick if he don't tell,
Right.
So it was a great way for a boss to find out something real fast. And he said, I will fire everybody here. And then Rick stood up. And he goes, and Rick and Eric were best friends.
Really? Okay.
I mean, we all were great friends with Eric, but Eric and Rick were tighter than everybody. And he said, you can see Eric just like, Rick? And Rick's head just fell, man, And what was so kind of funny and all that, like I said, Rick didn't mean it. I don't think Rick meant to do that. Who knows what the human body's going to do?
He did call you over to watch this, though, no?
He called the whole table over to watch. Come watch this. So we're there and we see it and we're like, the visual I have on this is, imagine I'm standing up looking at this wall. I'm Rick Steiner, and that way is me. He was going as projectile poop is shooting against the wall and going everywhere. It was the craziest human body thing that I've ever seen a human body do.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. But he called you over to watch this.
Oh, me, Luger, Sting, we all saw it.
You knew what was going to happen. He had to be feeling that type of way. He knew it was going to make some sort of a mess. So
I remember
wow.
Luger goes, I think your tummy's upset.
Oh my God.
It was like a bunch of millionaire kids is all it was. It was just a bunch of children in daycare, but we were making a bunch of money,
Wow. Well, I'm getting that impression here.
Brother, wow. You put a bunch of grown men in a building at 12 o'clock and your show time's at 8, I'm telling you, if you don't drink, you're going to start. And that's what happens. You just get bored, man. What are we going to do? We need to kill 3 hours. And Kevin would look at me and I'd look at Lex and they go, Kevin would walk up and just go, whose car? And somebody would bring the keys out and there was 4 of us in a car drinking and pilling. And it killed 3 hours, You go eat, kick out, no harm, no foul. You're sober for television. And it made sense for a long time. And then it just stops making sense and it stops working. And then you start to have it. And then, it's no fun no more for 20 years.
I mean, that's how it takes over, right?
Yes.
Wow. And I mean, so not to give too much away, but we're going to work on a kind of a creative project, that's going to go along with this channel, kind of talking about your life going from, the early days and starting with, maybe a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of pills, and then how it spirals out of control. And I think that's really going to help a lot of people. It's going to teach people, how it can get out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've come out the other side now, almost 2.5 years of sobriety. So I'm really excited about that. And I think it's going to be something that has a big impact on a lot of people.
I'm really excited about it. So that's, you've never heard that story about Rick Steiner?
I have never heard that story about Rick Steiner. No.
I had to go deep on that one. I don't know where it came from, but that one was in there.
Well, that is memorable. So I'm surprised that's not at the front of your memory.
Well, me too. But that face of him looking over at the door where we're all standing and laughing like it was just, and I mean, just the visualization of it was like, is that even happening?
Yeah.
Can the human body do that? And it was doing it. I'm like, what? And it wasn't like boom and it was over. It was like, it was going. And I was like, oh my God, where's it coming from?
Wow.
Only a Steiner.
There you go. Well, you got to see where it was coming from. Very
yes,
clear.
Unfortunately, I did.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go.
All right. There you go. A wrestling historian here. Why were you dressed up like Tatanka in Day of the Warrior?
Well, my name was Warrior.
That's a good place to start.
So these guys, Andrew Andy Sedaris.
Yep.
Is who called me up for this, and they wanted Sting or me to do these movies, and Sting passed because I was single. I was divorced from my first wife. I was single, and this had like girls in it and kissing girls, and it was like a soft porn type movie, But I was single. Sting was married, so we thought it was better that I do it. I was thrilled because I wanted to be a movie. Who don't want to be in a movie and be the star of it?
Right.
So I'm all in, of course. And when they called me with the role, kind of like pro wrestling, when they think of your tech, the WWF, when you go to work for they did have their own seamstress and they did have ideas for what you should wear. And they did make the outfits and stuff. WCW didn't have something like that. We didn't have that. So you found your own tights, your own boots, okay. I mean, I'm the one that thought of Buff, as Marcus Alexander Bagwell, I'm the one that came up with the colors, the tights, the boots I wore. The whole thing was always me. And so we were up to our own character to do.
And you did this for your tag partners as well, right? You came up with a lot of their stuff as well because you enjoyed.
Yes, I just put one idea out, and they liked it, like me and Scotty with the suspenders and kind of the zoot suit kind of pants is what I did with the males. Because a brand called Z Cavaricci was a brand back then that was red hot. Every club in Atlanta, used 3/4 of the men had something Z Cavaricci on. They had the coolest sweaters. They had the coolest shirts. They had the unbelievable coolest jeans ever. Z Cavaricci is what they were called. And they just were super cool. And so I kind of went off those and made kind of a suspender type style outfit, and Scotty was just on board, you know. But so I love doing that kind of stuff anyway. But like B Films is kind of like WCW. Here's your part, and I wasn't going to leave it up to them for me to look like the Warrior. My name is the Warrior, so I went and bought my own face paint. I've never painted my face in my life, but I went and bought it. I went and bought the headdress. I went and bought the Indian outfit. I bought the moccasins. I brought the leather bands that were around my arms because I didn't have the tattoo yet. So I had all. So I brought the whole thing, and they were just like, and thank God I did, because they had this little stupid looking Indian outfit that wasn't even cool. Okay. So, and that's why you don't take it. That's why you don't let people. I may have got there and they may have had something cooler, and then you wear it. But I'm going with what I think looks cool, and let's show up with it prepared. And so that's where the headdress and the paint and all of it came from.
Gotcha. And now we got Shelby Goodwin here. I was at the Thunder where you broke your neck. How did you stay? How long did you stay in the hospital in Columbia, South Carolina?
Wow, that's a rare one, man, to be in the Columbia. So that was
absolutely.
If she's wondering, that day would have been April 22nd, 1998, and so they took me to the hospital, and once we found out what it was, they allowed me. They were going to fly me back, but they actually said because of the turbulence, it would be better to drive me back. So Lex, Sting, Scotty Riggs, and me drove back together from Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, there was a fifth passenger, a case of Coors Light. We drove back, one of the best rides ever. Keep in mind, guys, I just went from being paralyzed to I'm fine. I'm not 100%, but I feel 100%. There's nothing wrong with me here. It's I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we all prayed in the car before we drove, and we thanked God before we opened the case of beer up, which is what we thought was doing the right thing back then. But
sure,
you know, that's what we thought was right. But it was once we got keep in mind, when they took me in to x-rays, I was paralyzed. I can move my fingers and stuff, but I'm duct taped to the board. So when I come rolling out in the wheelchair and I go, you know, they were like, oh my God, what happened? Right. And I said, it's 3 hours later. And I said, well, you know, the doctor talks to him and says he bruised his spinal cord. He goes, but if he falls, if you shove him, if he slips and hits anything, it could sever his cord and then he's paralyzed forever. So they put me in the hospital in Atlanta. So I drove straight from the Columbia airport. I mean, straight from Columbia Civic Center straight to the hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm not sure which hospital, I think Northside, but straight to the hospital because I was having surgery the next day. And then the doctor couldn't have surgery for like 3 days. And they were worried, for a good reason, they were worried I would hurt myself and be paralyzed because even a workout could hurt me.
Right.
And so they convinced me to stay in the hospital for 3 days, and but until the doctor had an opening, which was 3 days later, and so I waited in the hospital because for my safety. And wow, it was hard because, you know, I had to get Eric Watts had to sneak beer in, and you know, I was trying to drink where the nurses couldn't see me, and just the crazy days of drinking and pilling. But yeah, so it was crazy. But I actually drove home, and they put me directly in the hospital, and then they had the surgery.
And you still had a tough go of it, though, because you told me you had multiple surgeries, right? I mean, that seems to be the Buff Bagwell theme, though. I mean, you're always having multiple surgeries and complications and all that, it seems.
I mean, I've never had just a simple surgery. So this surgery, I had the surgery. He says it goes fantastic. I wake up, and from 12 hours after surgery, it was the second neck surgery because I had a hematoma, a blood clot in my throat. So that's the one where the doctor came in, had to put the hose up my nose and down my throat, and I had to work with him gagging because I couldn't breathe. So 12 hours after the first initial surgery, I had to go back in for emergency surgery to clear the blood clot out. After that surgery, I go home. I feel great. I remember weighing 236. I remember the weight. And I was like, I'm 236. I haven't lost any weight. I can get back in the gym. You know, I can pull this off, you know. Then I go home. I get food poisoning.
Jeez.
I throw up. And when I throw up, it re-hemorrhages it. And I get another blood clot. And so I got to go back in for a third surgery. After this surgery, I've got I have a softball right here on my neck, right where my scar is.
Mm-hmm.
I got half of a softball right there. It was like a goiter. It was the ugliest thing in the world. I tried to wear collars over it. I was trying to hide it and I couldn't. You got to try to shave around. It was awful, man. And and then I remember they couldn't figure out what it was. I was getting blood tests and all these cultures done to find out what it was, and was it this, and CAT scans and MRIs and x-rays. And finally one day at the doctor, I'm just in tears in there, the doctor, and they're cleaning it. And I feel like hot water going down my chest. And it just, one day, it just popped. Like a zit.
So it drained.
It just drained.
Wow.
90 cc's. If you know anything about that, that's a lot of liquid.
That's a lot, yeah. A lot of
90 cc's drained out of my neck. And it didn't need stitches or nothing. It just sealed itself up, and I never looked back.
Wow. And it did this itself. They didn't have to put a syringe and wow. Wow.
They just pushed it all out, and literally no stitch, no nothing. They put a Band-Aid on it and it healed. And this is what I was worried about the most, because they had to go in there 3 different times. So, but the problem with neck surgeries, the good thing about neck surgeries is your skin on your neck is thin, so it doesn't scar bad. So that's why you can barely even see it. That's why it doesn't look that bad. So they had to go in there 3 different times and fix everything. And nobody knows that story, you know? So the 3rd time was food poisoning at my house, and an ambulance had to come get me and drive off with kids waving at my ambulance. It was horrible. Jeez. I mean, it was just like a Rocky movie or something. It was depressing, but kind of impressive that the kids cared. And it was just a horrible time for me. And then I come out of that with this goiter, you know? It's like, what's going on, man?
Wow.
So finally it all goes away. And now all I'm facing is 45-pound weight loss. The food poisoning got me. You got 2 surgeries. You got not getting my meals in good. You got the 3rd surgery with food poisoning happen, which is throwing up and all that, and pooping, throwing up and pooping.
Right.
Yet all that, and when it was all said and done, 45 pounds lighter.
Wow. And is that mainly because of the food poisoning, or is that the combination of your intakes are off as well?
I think it was just a combination. I think food poisoning could have knocked you hear 10, 15-pound things with food poisoning.
I lost 21 pounds off of food poisoning a couple of years ago when my sister-in-law cooked for me, and I think she was trying to kill me. So
there you go. There you go. So there you go. So that's 20. So you hear 15, 20 stories. The 15 and 20, along with surgery and everything else, I think it just hit me, man, and I lost. And I think it was really right at 50, is what I remember. So 50-pound weight loss, and I can't touch a weight for 3 months. I was in a place that I can't explain, bro.
Right.
I was in a place but the good news is when I did come back, I came back in shape.
Absolutely. And you came back and had a great run for a number of years, looking the best you'd ever looked. So
yes.
Wow. So from Thomas Triber. Hey, Buff. You're great behind the mic and telling stories. Have you ever considered doing color commentary? I think you would be great at it.
I would love to do something like that. I don't know a whole lot of the wrestling, talk as much. I think I'd be a better NFL announcer. When I watch these games, almost every game I watch, I will say something and the announcer says it right after me, Like I'll be like, why did he call timeout? And they'll go, for some reason he called a timeout. So I really love NFL and all that, and I love wrestling too, but like knowing the actual moves, names and all that, if I did a little bit of studying and let me be maybe, or even just being the flat out heel announcer, I would love to do something like that. It'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. If you had to go back, who's the best color commentator in wrestling history, according to Marcus Buff Bagwell?
I mean, God darn. It's got to be it's got to be Tony Schiavone.
Okay, that's
the best is Tony Schiavone, I think. Okay. But like hearing Jesse the Body, when I hear old stuff now, he was great, I think. But Bobby the Brain Heenan
Bobby's phenomenal. Jesse's phenomenal. Yeah. Those are two of my
favorites. We just had Jesse at the wrong time. If we'd had Jesse,
I think Jesse was still good though in WCW because I think you were with Too Cold Scorpio when he was there, and I thought that was some of his best work, honestly. But it's underrated, and people don't talk about it because it was a limited window of time.
Yeah, and we just WCW wasn't cool. We wasn't cool yet.
Right.
So I think it didn't showcase him enough.
Right.
But I think Tony Schiavone is the best.
Do you know if there's any truth to Jesse leaving WCW because Hulk came in?
I didn't even hear that story, so okay. I do not know.
Okay.
Is that the rumor?
That's what's gone around. Yeah, I know the two of them just never have gotten along, and I know Jesse. I don't know if it's on Hogan's side, but I know Jesse is not a fan of him in any way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Is there a reason?
I think they've always had heat from back in WWF back in the 80s. I think it stems from maybe partly because of the whole unionization of the business. Jesse was advocating to unionize WWF and pro wrestling, and Hulk was not. I guess supposedly Hulk went to Vince and said Jesse's in the locker room trying to get everybody to go against you. So I think it stems from that in a lot of ways.
I do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would do it though. I mean, and we've talked about, unionizing wrestling and stuff, and Hulk would have been one of those guys that, he's being taken care of. So why, go against the boss?
Exactly.
So it's a tough situation. You want to be fair to everybody, but at the same time, you don't want to ruin a good thing that you have going for yourself.
Absolutely.
I just saw this from Drew. I hope we can get an eventual video with Scotty Riggs. Well, Drew, you are in luck. I will make that I'm editing a video right now. We'll make that the one after it then.
That's easy.
Yeah, because it's already filmed.
Yes.
So we've got a lot. We've got a lot of those already filmed, and we just filmed with Mark Marrow the other day, Eric Watts. So those will be some good ones as well.
Mark's was really good, and Eric's is always good. But Mark Marrow really, he just tells a great story anyway, and he explains his situation, with a start, middle, and end. It's a really good one.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he's got some amazing stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. This is an interesting one here. And you know what? I've thought about asking you this. What is your ancestry, Marcus? So what's your background? Do you know?
So what is the shield thing? It's called your life. Your Romans.
You're talking about like a family crest or
your family crest. Okay. So part of Marcus Alexander Bagwell trying to find, tomorrow you're going to be a pro wrestler. Mm-hmm. What are you going to wear? So my father came up with, well, not only that, what are you going to wear? And your name is your real name. Okay. that may sound cool, but it ain't. It ain't cool and it ain't fun. I'm like, well, that's not cool at all. I've been saying that for 20 years. Well, that is not fun. So my father came up with the family crest. So out of that, nowadays I'm sure you could research it much easier with cell phones and computers.
Right.
But back then we found it was like Irish, and I had some Indian in me. And so I made the crest like, I think it was like an S for Sprayberry. And I had it made a pair of tights. It made a pair of tights. And now that I'm saying it, it made it airbrushed. But whoever did it for me, I think it lasted one match. But if we dig and look, there will be a TV match with a crest on the side of my pants that's got like some kind of Irish thing, an Indian thing, and an S for Sprayberry. And I went with the Sprayberry colors because they called, they always said Sprayberry High School. And Jesse made fun of it the other day. It was so funny. He said from Spray. I don't know what he said, but he said something knocking it. And Tony Schiavone, of course, took up for it. But he was just making fun of that stupid word called Sprayberry. But I went with the colors. I love the colors, gold, black, and white. So good colors. Nobody else had gold, black, and white that I thought. So I went with it. But the crest was the first idea. So I think we, as my father said, we have a lot of Irish in us. And there was also like Indian, like Cherokee in us.
Very nice. Wow. Was there a lot of, and you're talking Native American, was there a lot of Native Americans situated in your part of the country, in the Atlanta area? I don't know much about the history there.
So we have Bagwells from a place called Tallapoosa, Georgia, but It's right on the line. It's very confusing to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But yeah, there is some Indian stuff up in like Canton. Well, keep in mind, the city I live in was Cherokee County.
That's right.
I live in Marietta here, but when Buff Bagwell had his house as the Buff Bagwell Run, that was WCW. I had my big home in Cherokee County, which is one county north of where I'm at now, which is Cobb. And so I grew up in Cobb, but I lived in Cherokee for a long time. And so Cherokee is from the Cherokee Indians. Right.
That makes sense. I'm just seeing this from Joe Cade here. I'm glad he enjoyed the Rick Steiner story there. I'm sure everybody did.
What did he say?
He said, Chase, didn't he call you over? He's just reciting our quotes from earlier during that story.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Let's see. We got a super chat here. Ooh, this is a good one from Dwayne Atkinson. Should Cena retire as the 17-time champion, or would you like to see him win the Intercontinental title that he never challenged 4 and 1?
I really don't see. I mean, you talked a little bit about this, but
yes,
to me, if it's not making him the 17th time world champion, it's just not worth it. If my math is correct, we got 2 guys in a business that nobody's ever going to be 16-time champions. Nobody. So let's just happen to say we got 2 guys that are considered 16-time world champions.
Right.
Okay. That's ridiculous. So yes, either let's unretire Ric Flair and have somebody put him over for the belt, which is utterly ridiculous.
Let's not do that.
That's ridiculous. Or you don't have a tie in this situation. There needs to be a 17-time world champion. John Cena still looks fantastic. He still can move great. He still does great. As long as he hides his bald spot and he gets in a 10 in bed. We're good. We're good. Right. We're good. If he does those 2 things, I'm in his corner the whole way, brother. Hey.
All right. There we go.
2 seconds. I will go on the road with him and I'll spray him.
Perfect.
I used to do it. I used to do it to my own head. Believe me, everybody's got the ball spots coming for all of you guys. It's coming. It's coming.
Right.
But they got a that covers it right up. So that and the 10 and bit and 17 champion, I can't wait to see it. It's how it needs to happen. He deserves it. He looks great. He's a great champion, and he's a good guy, man. So absolutely all my votes are toward John Cena being the 17th time champion.
I agree. And nothing against the Intercontinental title, but to me, John Cena, that does nothing for him. Sure, maybe it makes the IC title maybe a little bit more desirable. I don't think so. I think leave that to, somebody else, put the title on him, the main title on John Cena, and give him one last run.
Yeah.
For his farewell tour. I think that makes sense. And then the biggest thing, though, I think, is who you pass it off to, when he phases out completely. I think that's the important part of the story there.
I think he wins the belt quickly.
Okay.
And that way you don't see it coming. You do it quickly. That way you can run with the belt. And then you can do something before he leaves to pass it on,
Right.
Or really, you could swerve it all the way to the end and him not lose and just he leaves retired and they have to wrestle for who's going to win it.
That could be. You do like a tournament sort of deal there.
Yeah,
makes sense.
A lot of ways to go with it.
Absolutely. From Askabum, what's the finisher you hated and loved taking the most? So one you hated and one you liked taking.
Let's see. Let me think. Hated.
Are there finishers that you like taking? I feel like that.
Well,
might
that's
not...
what I was trying to think. I enjoyed taking Dallas's Diamond Cutter because of the way that you could hit out of the bump and go to your back and make it transition better for him. So you could, if you hit and just stayed there, which a lot of guys did, then Dallas has to roll you over. Right. But I would hit and go to my back, so
I like that, yeah.
Easier. So it makes it a little easier. That was an easy one to take, and I liked it. I loved Lex's rack. All you got to do is come up in a seated position and wait for him to put you up there. That was easy. And I like taking that one because you're just, you're selling. I love that one. The Bulldog I enjoyed until I got paralyzed. So that one scares me. I'll never do that one again.
Well, you took it forwards when you came back, right? Because they put you up against him again, your first match back. And I remember you taking it, looking at him.
Yeah, I took it forward, but doing it for some reason, I never knew the danger. I never knew the danger in this. I never knew
there's no range of motion, just naturally.
Now, when I learned it, it was like a light went off, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But there's no danger there, you don't think, because what's the danger in that way? But that's where all the danger is. That's why they say always tuck your head, because your neck can go a long ways this way.
Right, forwards, yeah.
It don't go far that way. So that move scares me. The DDT is one that's rough because it hurts, and to make it look good, you kind of need to hit your head every time, and it's a rough. I think the DDT would be the one that I dislike the most.
That makes sense.
The Diamond Cutter would be the best.
Okay. That makes sense.
Like all of the the ones that your back bends the other way, like Jericho's thing and Sting's, thing, and Bret Hart's, that thing with the body.
Right. Yep.
The double leg hole where they turn it around.
Yeah. Right.
Anytime my body's got to go that way, I hate it. I hate doing that. It's very uncomfortable.
Right. That makes sense. From Primeval Dean. Hey, Buff. Ever offered a chance to be on Hogan's TV show Thunder in Paradise? And the second part of that is, or did Hogan see you had a better build than he did and say, that doesn't work for me, brother?
Well, the body thing was definitely not the case. He was, 6'6", and he looked incredible. But no, I do remember that came off of us taping down in Disney. So all that was kind of timed together. when we did all of that with Hogan and Universal Studios and all that stuff.
Sure.
But never was invited to do that or not like that. But I love that show. It's a good show, and it was taped right there in Orlando when we do the tapings. Because I remember when we did the horse ride with the American males, we saw the Thunder, the boat, the Thunder in Paradise boat, and everything.
Yep. It was a very cool boat for sure.
Yeah.
I think, was that show only on one season? I think it was just a 1-season deal.
I think so.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good one here as we wind down. All right. Question: was Randy Savage friends with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash? How well did they get along with Randy? Do you have any insight into that?
Again, there was so much going on. You just try to stay out of what you could, but
I feel like that's half the battle, right? Is to survive the locker room.
Absolutely.
In pro wrestling.
And again, we do another story on this. We just did one on 5 things that make wrestling not fake. And
that's one of them. Yeah.
And survival of the locker room, how you present yourself as not a pro athlete, not a pro football player, not a pro baseball player, how you present yourself in a professional wrestling locker room is not easy. It's got special rules. It's got different things that you better catch on to quick or you're going to be hated. And if you look like I looked at 21 years old, you're going to be hated anyway for a distance of time. It's just up to you how you handle yourself and how you navigate yourself through that, whether or not you survive or not. But very tough locker room. But Randy was real tough anyway, man. He just was a very nervous type guy about always somebody coming after his job or Miss Elizabeth, or he was just always on, So I know that I've heard stories with Hall and Nash and, just there was always a little heat there, but Randy just was very, very cautious. I mean, like I said, I got beat up for doing what I was told, I did what I was told by Eric Bischoff. Right. And he beat me up in the ring. And he didn't tell me he was beating me up, but he basically beat me up for 11 minutes in the ring because he was mad about this promo I'd done. But so nothing crazy. Just it was always a little bit of jealousy or arguments when Randy was around those guys.
Gotcha. Do you know anything about the second part of this? It says also there's a story from Conan where he talks about Hall and Nash wanting Macho to shave his head bald. Do you know anything about that?
I do know that when they were really being serious, because Randy was trying to hold on to his hair and it wasn't looking good. So they said, "Look, man, and Randy kind of thought they were joking." And I remember talking to Kevin about it a little bit. And they wasn't joking. They were really trying to help Randy, and he thought they had lost their mind, But those guys from that era, man, that long hair thing. I mean, the hats they make where you put a hat on, and it's got hair coming out of it. But yeah. I mean, there's some legitimacy to that. There's some facts to that where guys still think they got hair. They've got hair, but it looks horrible, They just for some reason. I mean, his hair couldn't have looked worse, and so just get rid of it, right? But he just kept on dyeing it and just kept on doing it, And it's just something. I remember Jake Dallas had to beg. I mean, it came beyond begging. He didn't do it with begging for Jake to clip his hair shorter, and when he did, it looked so much better. I mean, he looked great. He was sober with the short hair, but he wanted to hang on to the long hair, and it just didn't look healthy. It didn't look good. He looked so much better when he cut his hair short and cleaned up,
Yeah. Well, I think the only person that can pull that off is Hulk Hogan, but even he, I mean, he keeps the bandana on for the majority of it. So,
I mean, I think Hulk would look crazy bald for some reason. I don't know why. It seemed
I
like
think we're just so used to seeing it on him. I mean, who else could pull off that haircut? Nobody in the world.
I mean, believe me, it's been talked about in every locker room around the world. How do you get over as a bald guy?
Yeah.
And he proved everybody wrong. He did it,
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. We'll do a couple more here. What's your favorite Michael Jackson song, if you have one? Also, what kind of music do you listen to?
In Atlanta, it's this music called 97.1. It's the River in Atlanta. That's my favorite station. But I went through different things in my life. I love all music. I love country, hip hop, everything. But I stick to your basic 70s, 80s. Okay. But there was a big 90s run with the Nirvana and the Bush and Three Doors Down and all those guys. I mean, I liked a lot of 90s stuff too, but your 80s, everything 80s is just pretty hard to beat for me. I mean,
so you're talking hair like Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Poison, stuff like that.
Those are my favorite bands.
Def Leppard. Okay, all right.
So, but Bon Jovi is number one.
Bon Jovi number one. All right.
But like Tupac with one of his songs. I played in my Jag 10 million times, and it was called Picture Me Rolling.
Okay, I know that one.
Picture me rolling in my 500 Benz.
Yeah.
I mean, just
right.
over, because I was rolling in my big expensive Jag, not my 500 Benz.
Right.
But and I was rolling.
It's relatable. Yeah.
Oh, it was real relatable, and I'd pull up to every club with Picture Me Rolling.
Do you remember when you were, because you're a big Tupac fan then?
Huge.
Do you remember where you were when he passed away?
Well, that's a good one, and I don't. I don't. Where were you?
Probably in bed.
Born?
I mean, it was 90. No, I was around for Tupac, but I was young. I mean, I was probably 6-7 years old.
Right.
But he got shot leaving MGM Grand in Vegas, a venue that you played a venue that you wrestled at time and time again for was Halloween Havoc was the MGM one, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Let's see. We'll do a couple more here. You guys are running with these now. Hold on. And Brandon, we kind of got yours in there inadvertently there. So you know what kind of music he's into. Let's see. Johnny Miller, where's your question? I'm trying to find it here. Johnny, send it again because I'm at the bottom of the chat here. It's bumping, so I'm trying to get you in. And did you say were you a Michael Jackson fan?
So Michael Jackson. I probably, if I could think about it a little bit, because there's so many great ones, but I think
Thriller's a big one. Bad's a big one.
At the time, and remembering it, video, everything has to be Beat It.
Beat It is a good one for
sure.
Man,
that video when they're knife fighting and everything, and just and by the way, and the jacket. I had the jacket, the
leather jacket
from a place called Merry Go Round that sold the actual jacket. Wow. And there was one that was like a kind of a fake one. The metal was fake, and then it was like a $50, and then the one that was the real metal was $750
Oh, wow.
And this is, years ago, and I had the real one, and it was just incredible to wear that to school. Michael Jackson jacket,
Yeah.
But Beat It.
Beat It. That's a good one. Yeah, Michael Jackson was the first artist, I think, that really brought music videos to life. I mean, you had him before, but he just put something else into, bringing the combination of audio and video together like that.
Yeah.
So John Dantley here. Can you please ask Buff this question? Buff, I like your show with Avi Klein called The Stuff. TKN rules. Are you looking forward to winning the TKN Celebrity Tournament?
It's a great question. So this is I think it's like $15,000 and a trip to Egypt or something, Asia or Egypt.
Okay.
But it's a really big deal. That's the one where I think I lost the first round. I won the first round, and then I got beat in the second round. It's like a debating game contest, and they give you like something to debate on, and you go back and forth. It was me against the right fielder of the Atlanta Braves. God, what's his name? Can't believe I can't think of his name. But superstar athlete for the Atlanta Braves, won the world title here. Went to the New York Yankees. David Justice.
David Justice. Okay, all right.
And so it was me against him and somebody else that played Miami Hurricane ball. I mean, this Bobby Klein gets heavy hitters, man, to awesome. Do this thing, and it's just. But the winners are like a lot of money involved in a trip, so I'm very excited about it.
Excellent. All right, and I'm trying to find Johnny Miller's here. What was the moment you knew the Buff Bagwell character was over?
This is the easiest question of the night. As soon as Nick Patrick from the back of first class said, "What about Buff Bagwell?"
For your name suggestion.
For the name suggestion, it was a done deal, man. It was done.
Wow.
But when I knew it, when it really all came together for me, would have been about the Baltimore, Maryland time when I learned, when Sting watched me do the dance and said, do that again. What do you, and then the Buff strut. That's when it was really coming to me like I had something special.
Got it. And from MBF, Modern Homesteading. Hey, bro, Marcus Buff Bagwell, bought your DVD on your site a couple years back. Really enjoyed it. All the best.
Thank you so much. That was a good DVD. Chase, you got that one, right? The one that shows me singing like Slow Ride.
No, I don't have that
one. Of it?
I don't. Well, I might be in the VHS tapes if you pulled the DVD from those.
This is a DVD.
I don't have that.
This was another kind of a doc. It's on I think it's on the one with all the car commercials. The documentary.
I pulled everything off of that one. That's not on there.
Okay. It's a documentary type style.
Okay.
I mean, it talks about shooting my dad, all that.
Okay.
But at the end of it, it's got me doing Slow Ride. At 16 years old, I'm lip syncing Slow Ride with a little horsey that you ride as like an infant.
Yeah.
You know, the little horsey. And I got go-go boots on and a pair of stripe underwear, a straw hat, and a Gold's Gym tank top. And, I'm a $160, which is 20 pounds bigger than a $140, but I was bigger, and I'm singing Slow Ride.
Incredible. Yeah, I don't think it's on there, but I'll because I pulled the documentary section of that off, but it could have been on the one that wasn't working, so that could be where it was.
Yeah, I need to get that to you.
For sure. All right, let's see. Let's do two more here, and we'll call it a night. There was one here. We'll give one to Joe here. Ribs or wings? It's a different type of question, but let's go with it. Are you a rib guy or a wing guy?
I'm going to blow probably everybody's mind here. I have never ordered either one of those in 55 years of living.
Really?
I've never walked in and ordered the word rib or the word wing in my life.
Wow.
And I think I can't say I've never tried. I've tried wings, I think, and I've tried ribs. I mean, I'm not even clear on trying them, but Stacy just told me she took the meat off of the bones of some ribs one time that I tried, and I loved them, she said.
All right.
But for me,
so we're gonna go ribs then.
To hold a rib, the answer would be ribs for sure. It's more protein, I think. The wings seem to be less protein, but there's just too much work.
Less meat, yeah.
There's too much work with all of it. I want a piece of meat that I can get into my system as fast as I can.
I gotcha. All right. So
great question, though.
So not boneless wings then.
And again, that just to me, it looks like it's not real meat.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, depending on where you're getting it, yeah, it's not. It's either,
I
yeah,
feel like
you're right.
I feel like McNuggets is what I feel like when I see
Which are
wings.
just, I mean, mostly processed, right? They're grinding all the extras and just kind of packaging them into the
Yes.
breading. And yeah, I gotcha.
So the breading and all that, let's just say wings or ribs were never on Buff Bagwell's diet.
Gotcha.
Never.
And you've very much maintained that diet then,
Yes,
all this time.
I do.
And we've got some food stuff coming to the channel as well.
We do. I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be good. All right, let's do one last one and we'll call it a night, guys. I like this one right here from Brandon. Hey Buff, what is your favorite interaction you ever had with a fan?
Wow, that's a toughie. Greatest interaction ever. I mean, like some of the stuff I hear, like the fan that said that I was nice to him the night I got fired. That means so much to me,
And that was right here on the channel.
Right here on the channel. And when I hear that makes me feel good. But the greatest interaction, oh man, that's a really great question. That's a great question. But whoa. I don't know, man. That is a good one. I mean, there's a bunch.
I could share my favorite interaction you've had with a fan, but Stacy's probably too close for that one from Ohio.
Probably.
Was
it at WrestleCade?
No. She was at WrestleCade with us. No, this was Ohio. So this was not Chillicothe. Where were we in Ohio? A month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. Just the nice older lady that was very much.
Oh gosh, that's right. What a crazy one. We will do that one sometime. That was crazy. But again, that wasn't really. He said the nicest, right?
No, I think. Did he say the nicest?
I think.
I took a turn on that one, so
maybe.
Where'd it go here? I don't know. It's gone in the chat now.
Was it you thought craziest?
No, it was favorite. So it was my favorite. It was my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But
it was nice. It was very nice.
You went a different road on me there, brother.
Different road.
But yeah, one of my favorites is really truthfully, and not because Stacy's here, because it's one of my things I talk about.
Right.
It's when I met Stacy, her son-in-law was a fan. And he had met me at the Atlanta airport.
Wow.
At the baggage claim. Now, let me set this up for you. Buff Bagwell in Atlanta at the baggage claim. I'm home and I'm trying to get to my house. So if you're going to try to find the worst time for me to be a good guy, would be the Atlanta baggage claim.
Right.
And so when he's telling me the story, I'm going, oh my God. And I just first started dating Stacy and I'm like, oh my God. And he goes in, man, you stopped and gave, and he whips out and has the me and my brother 8x10s. And
that's incredible.
And I just went, oh, thank God. So that really is, though, to this day, I still tell that story a lot. Because that means something. That's a big deal. Most of the time Lex Luger don't talk to me at baggage claims, much less Atlanta's, so the last thing, I thought for sure, oh my God, I blew him off and oh no.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Not that you ever want to be that guy or do that, but you're dying to get out the door, that you're just about to that point where you're home.
I'm on the home stretch, brother.
Right. You've already left your persona behind you.
Yes.
Your work is over. I get it.
But the truth is, and again, we talk about this a lot, it never gets out as good as the others do. But just like the night I was fired, I was nice to the people. Those kind of stories just don't get out,
Yeah. Here's another one right here from Keeping It Redneck. Hey, boss, just letting you know I met you in Norfolk, Virginia back in, I think, 1999, WCW. Is at In and Out, and you were super cool to me. So, there you go.
Hey, I appreciate it, buddy. I'm glad I was cool to you. I really, it always meant something. It meant more to me than most wrestlers when people asked my autograph or they cared. I just really tried not to be ugly. One of the things that would always happen that got me to be ugly, and I was ugly to every time a person said this to me, because I just felt like they were being ugly. And that is, he would always, it would always, like they would say, that like it'd be a person that wasn't, it'd be a person, like a girl that was with two super big fans, and they'd be going, "Oh my God, it's Buff Bagwell," and the girl would be going, I don't know who that is," and then and they keep saying it though.
Right.
I don't know you. I'm not sure who you are, and
Right.
for some reason that bothers me, because what I say to them is exactly what I feel. I go, "Hey, I don't know you either. So why are you trying to make it?" So what it really was to me, or what I thought, is it really was the person did know you, but didn't want to say it.
Right,
She was making it very obvious that she knew me by saying 17 times, "I don't know who it is. I'm just not sure who it is." And so I go, "Look," I said, "Look, I don't care if you know me or not. I don't know you. So we're even." You know, it's like they got to try to act like they don't know you when really they do.
Yeah, play it up. Right.
I just look, man, I don't want you to know me. Just quit saying that. But there's something about that line that always bothered me, because I felt like they were saying it to try to be ugly, because they did know who I was. Why would they be at a indie show in Sabatotha, Alabama,
right,
and not know who I was? You know, it's
right,
like,
right,
okay, whatever, man. You know.
And then from John here, I just want to let you know that Warren Moon and Avi Klein spoke well of you on a show. So
that's great. Warren Moon, that makes me think of, I wrestled Norman Smiley one time, and in the ring, as I'm circling to lock up with him, it just overcomes me. And I look in the camera and I go, "That looks like Warren Moon." Look up a picture of Norman
They look
Smiley.
Identical. Yeah.
They look identical. And it didn't hit me until I was in the ring, and in the camera, I go, "That looks like Warren Moon."
Right.
And there's people who know who Warren Moon even is. But
I mean,
I did.
They do look like, what's the term? The doppel, whatever. You know, they look like 100% like the identical version.
Did.
You know,
he really did.
And one more here. I thought this was a good one. Did you and John Tenta get along?
I don't think I ever really spoke to John. That was like when I first came in.
Right.
Tenta was doing the little teddy bear thing.
Oh, okay.
Where he was some kind of,
he was doing, yeah, he did. Right.
He was like a psych patient. Wait a minute. Now, wasn't it?
He did like the shark thing, right?
He
was
did the shark
Earthquake
thing for us. That's right. So he did do a pretty cool thing.
But he did do some strange stuff later on too.
He did. And like a little teddy bear, and he was like a psych patient. But I never sat down and talked to John Tenta, never once. He wasn't there very long, and he was right back to the WWF.
Right. All right, guys. Just reading a couple of these. Sorry. All right, guys. We will be back in about 2 weeks. I think we typically do every other Thursday, so we'll plan to be back in 2 weeks. I don't know the date of that, but that looks like the 30th. That'll be right before we go to WrestleCon in Indianapolis. That'll be Royal Rumble weekend. So we'll have some cool stuff to talk about then, guys. But thank you all so much for joining us. We've got 144 in here with us right now. We had a lot throughout this last 2 hours. So, and there you go. Check out the link, which I'll provide for you guys in the description of this video, but you can find it throughout the channel to Mark's website. You can check out his merch. He's got those great figurines there. You can get the Buff hat signed. And we also want to shout out, who's your protein powder behind you?
Blackstone. The best protein. I'm not saying this. I really am not. I'm telling you, if you try the protein powder, go buy a packet of it and just try it. It's the best protein day in and day out, which is the key to protein powder. If you don't like the way it tastes, you're not going to do it. So Blackstone absolutely the best. They got several flavors. My favorite is vanilla, but vanilla Blackstone, I will go down in history telling you it's the best tasting protein powder ever.
Excellent. Now they have one called what is it, like unicorn or something weird like that, right?
They got sued because they called it Fruity Pebbles. And
okay.
the owner dressed up like Barney Rubble.
Oh, nice.
And Fred Flintstone, and got in trouble for it. So they call it unicorn, but it's like a Fruity Pebbles. It's incredible, but again, it's about that day in and day out. That's the catch. If you I remember I loved strawberry for a long time.
You get sick of it sometimes, though.
I can't choke a strawberry down to save my life now. So It's just what you got to deal with day to day, because when you do a shake, you're going to be doing at least one. And if you're Buff Bagwell, you do 2 shakes a day. So 1 or 2 shakes a day, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. So Blackstone Vanilla, check it out, and you'll be happy I told you.
All right, perfect. We'll check out Blackstone. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.